weekly report. Now, lately I've noticed social distancing is kind of like a holiday. I don't mean what we're doing, but I mean how people talk about it. We now say, are you observing social distancing? Hey, what are you doing for social distancing? Are you celebrating in the same kind of way? Are you going to that thing on Zoom? Can we do this together? Now, if you're a freshman watching this video, you're invited to our Freshman Retreat coming up this weekend. It's on Saturday, and we'll have more details in the description box and in an email coming soon to you. We will be doing lots of fun games. Fun way to close out your year as freshmen. Remember that you can invite anyone, whether or not they've come to a Wesley event, they just need to be a freshman. Backed by popular demand today, I have more social distancing tips. Take deep breaths. Guess a candle scent. Eat a little snack. Drink some water. Run a lap. This is a great week to check in on people. What kinds of things did they hide in their Easter eggs? Let that breath out. Lately, I've seen a lot of people trying out obstacle courses to keep themselves entertained. So I thought it'd be great if we make our own obstacle course, College Quarantine Edition. For this, you'll want to use materials you already have in your home. Things like a floor, some tape. Start by putting some spaces to jump in. We have a space just perfect for taking a nap. It's time to wake up and do some homework. Smell a candle. Stare at the ceiling blankly. Take that test you've been studying for. Reading. Speaking of reading, this week we're on chapter 3 of Life Together, and it's called The Day Alone. And so last week we talked about the day together and kind of that fellowship, what that can be. But today we're talking about those times when we're in solitude and we're in silence. He talks about how it's very important to spend alone time with God. And sometimes we might call that quiet time, you might call that your devotional time, but really it's a time that you set aside for silence and solitude with Christ, with scriptures, and then with prayer. So it's not just silence, but you're listening to see what the Word has to say, both in scriptures, but also the living Word, what Christ has to say to you. And he talks about how we're waiting for the Word. Meditation and this kind of stillness, we're sitting and we're waiting for God to speak and for us to understand what he's saying. After the day alone, we bring in the blessing of aloneness to the fellowship, and then the fellowship brings their blessing to our time alone. And so the day alone and the day together really complement each other and need each other to bring those blessings and to give this whole life together. And that God wants to know you as an individual person. So we're called individually, but as a community. And so that's how we kind of tend to balance the day together and the day alone, that they're both very, very important. And so this time where it might be easier to have the day alone and have some of that solitude and silence, really use that, not just as a time to be alone per se, but to be with God. So now's not a time to run from this being alone time, but to really embrace it and see what God has for you in the stillness. Easter. You may have had a very different experience for an Easter egg hunt this year. Here's a look at how my Easter egg hunt went. Look at all those eggs. Today we also got to catch up with one of our most loyal listeners, Taylor Vaughn.
My foot, it's healing. Social distancing, we love puzzles. I love writing letters. That's a good way to keep in contact with each other.
What kind of stamps do you happen to use when you mail, Taylor?
You know, when I mail, I use
Santa stamps. Your letter doesn't have his face on it. Are you sure he's listening?
Sometimes I like to sing a song.
Rockin', rockin' and rollin'. Down to the beach I'm strolling. But the seagulls poking my head, not fun.
I don't give a guac.
Our other sponsor this week is Vermont. Vermont, bringer of this smile and smiles everywhere.